we're gonna kind of kick it off right now with a little music. Music always soothes the soul. So we would like for Marcia Anderson, if you'll kick us off with your song, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, let's give her a virtual clap.
Wonderful.
Fabulous.
Wonderful, fabulous. If everybody would please go ahead and mute yourself, I appreciate it. I'd like to thank Marsha Anderson for the wonderful intro and thank the Greater Miami chapter of the Links Incorporated for being our event partner tonight. I would like to acknowledge the president. Hopefully she's on here, Gail Dotson, and also my friend and soror, Jessica Modkins, who's over the Art Fest and reached out to us. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. We want you to stay to the end because Marcia will be on again at the end and perform for us. So please stay on the whole night. We at the GMCVB continue to provide programming like this to educate, inspire, and help build capacity. Thank everyone for attending, and you are in for a treat tonight. I've got to give a shout out, as always, to two people first, two of my bosses, two of our bosses. William Talbert, who is on there, I already see him in the chat room. He is the president of the Greater Miami and Business Bureau, as well as Carolyn Taylor, who is the chair of the GMCVB Multicultural Tourism Committee. And also, of course, bringing these things together, Zooms, events, anything we do, you have a team. So shout out to the Multicultural Tourism Department, Herlinda Lombardi, Pam Payano Lewis, and Petra Brennan, who is the director of our Tourism Business Enhancement and leads our Art of Black Miami program. You're gonna hear from her. She's gonna tie up all the loose ends when we finish. So you'll hear from her a little bit later. At this point, we're gonna get ready and turn it over to our friends, the art specialist, concierge, Premier. She's a curator, a businesswoman, and really she is the supporter of the artist. She is someone that we all know and have seen who really cares about the artists and their well-being, and that's Rosie Gordon Wallace. She works with our team, she works with our department as an art specialist to help us stay on the right track. So thank you, Rosie. But before I turn it over to you, I do ask that everyone, if you make sure you mute yourself, please mute yourself, and then we'll have a few minutes at the end for question and answer. But we do ask you to put those questions in the chat, and we will be monitoring the chat throughout the conversation. So, Rosie Gordon Wallace, our friend, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I don't see the smiles. Thank you, Evelyn, for acknowledging that. Thank you for joining us. I know that on a Friday evening, even in a pandemic, there's so many other things like drinking rum and having a glass of wine, but that you chose to come on and have this time with us, and it means so much to us. I have a treat for you. This evening, well, first of all, you had a taste of the treat already. You already had Marcia Anderson bring us in with Isn't She Lovely? And she's saying, aren't we all lovely? Right, Marcia? Thank you very much. And thank you for the sponsors from our Link sisters, who I have many friends who are Links. Don't tell them that I shouted them out this evening. But tonight, we're going to be talking about building unity and creative ecosystems. And I want to thank the team for the wonderful graphics that they gave in the invitation. Creating artworks that build on a distinctive combination of culture, commerce, and design. And we're going to kick the evening off with my friend and colleague, who I'm actually exhibiting presently, Evelyn Pulitzer. And we're going to welcome, after Evelyn, Zenobia Bailey, and we'll have a conversation together. And then we're going to have them speak to each other about this wonderful, wonderful homemaking, domesticated art form called Fiberworks. Evelyn, good evening. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you very much for having me. It's a real honor to share this with, especially with Zenobia. I've known Zenobia's work for a long time.
She is a master, I agree. And we'll have time to go through her work with her. And so are you, Evelyn. I mean, you are local. And not only are you local, you're bringing to this conversation a part of the world that we don't normally interact with, Uruguay.
Yes.
And tell us, for those of us who don't know where Uruguay is, where is Uruguay?
Okay, so Uruguay is it's a tiny country between Argentina and Brazil, and we are like the little brothers that always make peace between the two big ones. It's a very small country, and I always say that I started my fiber art journey probably when I was born, because the materials I work with the most is the wool from my country, and there are more sheep than human beings in Uruguay.
No wonder you can be the peacemakers. Anyway, we're not going to go down that road tonight. But I want to share with our audience how I met you. I met you at Laundromat Art Studios, where you were having an exhibition, and I fell in love with your work. And there is no greater joy of a curator than falling in love with somebody's work, even before you meet them, correct? And then I said, who is this lady doing this amazing work with everyday, ordinary strings? And I mean, the Caribbean, we call it string, right? You have fiber. Nobody says fiber, bring me a piece of thread, right? We say you are making wonderful work with fiber, strings. And then I said, when I met you, I really fell in love during the studio visit with the complexity of your work. I'm going to share the screen now with you because you have done work, you've placed fiber and your fiber arts in spaces that we don't normally expect to see it. And I'm not ignoring the seat you're sitting on that has been embellished by this fabulous, amazing pattern. You want to talk a little bit about that before we move on to the work that you have done in the public?
Yes, okay. So this
Go
is
ahead.
the chaise longue here where I'm sitting. That is part of my when I discovered as I told you, the softness and the colorful yarn from my country, I really didn't discover it. I rediscovered it
Right.
from a couple of years ago. I started em- eh, embellishing and yarn bombing everything I could get a hand on. So this is what happened in this chaise longue. It's wavy, but it's really the colorful yarns from Uruguay that help my job, make my job easier.
And it actually softens the piece of furniture and turns it into something magical,
Yeah.
other than just a chaise lounge. The public art work, I selected a few of your works. I could have done 500 slides, but I selected a few of your works really because when we we grew up with this material, right? It's called mixed media, it's called fiber. You're not a fiber artist, you're an artist using fiber. And so we sometimes, as the everyday ordinary public, forget that an artist can do a whole bunch of stuff. And here you are hugging trees. Share with me how this came about and where it was. Arms Around Me is the name of the piece, where you did this, and what was the inspiration in doing this.
These are tree huggers, but I always say that the real artist is Mother Nature. I just with these pieces, I'm just trying to embrace her and make her feel my warmth for them. But I also need to credit my mother-in-law. She was a long time ago. She used to embrace to hug trees because she believes that trees bring her the
Energy?
yeah, the positive energy. She could feel the positive energy of these trees. And everything started when I had a rainbow eucalyptus that I loved, and it died. So I had to cut it off, and I said, no, I can't let go of this rainbow eucalyptus. And since then I've been hugging trees with different materials, different colors, but always the same feeling for Mother Nature.
And I want to make sure that we at least leave with a little instruction this evening, because we think that we understand fiber art, but what kind of stitching are you using here? Is there a particular name to the stitching? And how is it that you come up with the designs? You're hugging the trees, but tell me a little bit about the form that you did here.
Well, and I was very happy that Zenobia is also talking, because she mainly, I think she mainly uses crochet.
Yes.
I mainly knit, and knitting, to tell you the truth, I think it's the easiest, one of the easiest fiber arts techniques. And it's so soothing and it's so therapeutic that it's if you know knitting, you know this is you don't even need a pattern for this. It's very simple, and it's just knits and purls with the two hands, and that's it, and two needles, a pair of needles. That's all you need.
Well, I'm laughing in my office here because I'm saying you could give me the two needles and you could give me the yarn and I still wouldn't be able to do that. So it's not as easy. I think that there is I'm going to use the word resurgence of of fiber arts. When you go on the internet, when you go on Instagram, a lot of artists are doing fiber. And I don't think it's because it's easy. What is your opinion about why is there this resurgence of this material that has been here from time immemorial?
Well, I guess it's also because the fiber arts is so vast, and it's so malleable, and it's really you can use any technique or any kind of material that is soft to make art with fibers. But probably also because all the work, as you say, that was done by women and was only considered women's work is
Right.
also being very much enhanced nowadays, no, and pay attention to again.
Right. Well, the world of design, which takes me to Women's Spring 2020, your next image.
You know why I'm laughing, right,
Yeah.
Rosie? Because Rosie thought they were doorknobs.
Well, listen, although I curate, I'm also literal because last year before last at Art Basel, the Miami Design Fair had this artist from Europe, somewhere in Europe, and these were doorknobs. And I thought that they were amazing. And here you're doing them. So tell us what these are.
Okay, so this is a series of women's breasts. They are not doorknobs, but they are all hand knitted. And this series started a long time ago when I wanted to honor my mother, really, that she died very young of breast cancer. But this in particular, this piece in particular is hand knit breasts that they're mounted on vintage mattress springs.
Springs.
And this piece wants to talk about women in the arts because I want us women to spring forward. That was my intention. But
You know,
doorknobs is another way of springing forward.
I'm laughing because if Mr. Talbot were on this call, I know that he would say, he would take us in another with a little off comment because the the fact that they're breasts, but they're multicolored and they're absolutely beautiful. So I'm sorry I call them doorknobs, but you and I know that in the artwork we can use them for different purposes.
Yeah, so what I did, because I didn't want you to confuse, I'm going to show you that this is the actual thing. So
Right.
not a doorknob. It's a boob.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is. From that angle, I would have no trouble. I would have no trouble identifying it, Evelyn, from that angle. All right, you see, you're lucky you have me as the interviewer. So past, present, and future.
The next one.
This is a piece that I saw at your Fiber Art Fama
Yeah.
exhibition, and it is a different direction from a lot of your other work, the work that I had seen before, the work that you have behind you. It is contemporary. It is light. You're using a different patterning, almost web-like,
Yeah.
and you're using colors that I have not seen you actually put together in this form. Give me a little bit of the inspiration about past, present, and future.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the part of fiber arts that I also enjoy very much, and it's the social part, the social aspect of fiber arts that lead me to get together with two other local fiber artists, Aurora Molina and Alina Rodriguez Rojo, and we formed FAMA. Fiber Artists Miami Association, and this was the first exhibit that we did in August to honor the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment,
Right.
that it's the women's right to vote here in the United States. And I thought about this piece because this is really, it was thought like a woven piece, where in a woven piece you have the horizontal lines and the vertical lines that are strong because they are together, they form a cloth, a fabric. And if they are by themselves, the threads or the fibers, they would fall apart. But they because they are together, and they are strong. And so this was really very organically free form woven, thread by thread, and always thinking about what women had to go through in order to gain the right to vote. And so, yeah, and it was a great experience when we formed the Fiber Fama, the Fiber Arts group. And but if I have time, I'll tell you more about it.
Wait, first of all, I think it's really needed because everybody needs a tribe, and a lot of what the art of Black Miami, one of the eras that Petra is in charge of, is the entrepreneurial arm, where we do workshops, and so this particular process that I heard and the conversations that I heard at FAMA talks about the economics of art, talks about the economics of movement of the work. You were not only doing the work, you were also saying this work is available for sale.
Yeah.
And in a very conscious way and purposeful way. And so for me, it was very exciting because we don't have many of that, especially for artists that are not yet blockbusters. You're all going to be blockbusters. I know that. But for now, we need a tribe so that we can lean on each other to get the work moving into the hands of collectors, right? So,
yeah, and this is what FAMA, the group, showed us, the power of the group.
Right.
And really move forward if there's a group and another very like a mission that FAMA has is promoting the fiber arts as a contemporary art form.
Right. So we're going to move through. I wanted to show this one. This is a walking through brick walls. I will say a little bit and then I'm going to introduce our audience to Zenobia Bailey. This work in another form is in intersectionality diaspora art from the Creole City, and you're actually on a truck traveling from North Carolina back to Miami as we speak. So just tell us a little bit about what you're trying to communicate with this format, and why it is that you chose a hanging format as opposed to a formed format.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So this conversation, the walls, my walls series started like 4, 5, 6 years ago when all this wall conversation started in this country. But this particular one wants to show you the fiber arts is brick. It was knit and crochet brick by brick, stitch by stitch and row by row. But it really, the fact that it's hanging and it's separate walls is because, and it's also see-through because all the bricks are mounted on a mesh, on a copper mesh. So it's almost see-through. Right. It's the idea that we should, that's my wish, that we walk through walls, and so they become open walls.
So they don't become borders.
Exactly.
Right, which is a wonderful idea and concept. Yeah. You were at the Miami International Airport. I saw you. I saw these teardrops. I saw them there in our final slide with you. And this, we have Caroline Taylor in our audience who is at the airport. And this was absolutely magnificent as a art in public places work here. A little bit of your other forms to the right of our screen, and your teardrops, which are again going to be shown in the Miami Design District, opening February 5th. I'm not ashamed to say that Evelyn Pulitzer is going to be open in the Miami Design District February 5th, showing these teardrops, and you won't be able to touch them, but you'll be able to see how soft they are as well. What was the response you had at the Miami International Airport? Did you have a great response and feedback from folks?
Yes, positive. And I wanted to use the color and the materials to bring positivity and bring happiness, right. But also to transmit the worry for the environment. Right. And I hope I achieved it. I don't know.
You certainly did. You certainly did, as you will. And I saw Rolando's question. I'm going to put it in the chat. The exhibition, Intersectionality Diaspora Art from the Creole City. And the Creole City is Miami. That is from Dr. Donette Francis, who was one of our presenters in this creative series that we have had from the Greater Miami Visitors and Conventions Bureau. It is going to be at the Moore 200 4040 Northeast 2nd Avenue, what we normally call the Moore Building, but it's the Moore 200, and we're going to be on the first and the second floor. So Evelyn, I am so proud that you are here. You are in the middle of finishing your master's, right? At AI University. And it is such a joy that you've taken up the leadership and that you're assisting young artists doing this fiber art form, this mixed media form, into getting themselves into small businesses, because each of you are contractors. And not only are you creating these beautiful images for our visitors and our locals to enjoy, but you're also saying that this is an economic stream, right, for artists doing this kind of work. So I am going to switch now to our other guest, Zenobia Bailey. Zenobia, are you on? There she is, all fabulous. Folks, we have to apologize. We're having some technical difficulty. It's Philadelphia's fault, not Miami's fault.
Right.
My dear friend, I have never met you face to face. I want to say that, so I'm not biased, but me love your work. I am in love with your work.
Thank
Um,
you.
you are a humble, bombastic, amazing artist. And I want you to share with this group. I wish they could see you and touch you and hear you talk about your work. We have a chairman of our multicultural, what is it, Petra Multicultural Arm? Tell me again, please.
Multicultural tourism and development.
Multicultural Tourism and Development, who is famous for wearing your hats. Um, we know her by her hat. So just to have your image here with this amazing funkadelic hat is amazing. I know that your work embellishes and celebrates the everyday, ordinary Black home, the African American. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you want to share with us when you do this crocheting. Tell me, share with us.
Well, first, I'd like to thank the Seattle. Well, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. But I'd like to thank the Seattle Lynx, because they were the ones. If it wasn't for them, I would not have been able to go to school.
Oh,
Yeah, they gave me my one-way ticket to come from Seattle to go to New York, and then they gave me a scholarship money. And while I was there at school, they bought my first camera, 35 millimeter camera, because I didn't have enough money for that. But yeah, the Lynx, if it wasn't for them, two women, I can't even remember their names right now. I should have wrote it down, but two women listened to me, you know. They didn't even have an art scholarship, but they started me out and sent me, and here I am now. But anyway, what my practice is, I'm my background is I have an undergraduate degree in industrial design. I don't have a fine art degree. I just studied fine art or design on my own, mostly design, because I'm into economic development within the community for product and service designs. And my inspiration for my aesthetic comes from the African American homemaker,
right.
specifically the rural community, and the the research that I'm doing. I'm doing research on the African American Maroons. And this is like when, you know, the African Americans were brought to the United States as forced labor. A lot of the enslaved Africans did not stay on the plantations. They stole away into the swamplands, into the forest, and, you know, all this wilderness. But they created a livelihood. They adapted to the ecosystem. They adapted to the cosmos. They were using found objects. They were using refabricated things. They would find materials, broken things, and they would recycle them. So that's what we call it today. And that's where the aesthetic of funk came from,
Right.
as far as my practice is concerned, because that's pretty much how my mother and father put our household together. We didn't have any money, but we were not poor. You know, we
And
were
the
not
house was
poor.
beautiful.
Oh, my house, my mother's house was, you know, the first time I left to go to college. And the first time I came back home, you know, when you go to college, you do all this research and, you know, you go to these different museums and look at different exhibits. The first time I came back home and I looked at my mother's house, it looked like a gallery because she had all these crocheted textiles and quilts. And but we had to have those things all over the house because, like, this is Washington State. We don't have summers. We barely have springs. But but the house was cold and we had a wood burning stove. You know, we didn't even have electricity in the beginning. So you had to have blankets on or some kind of quilt or something, which was beautifully made. Nothing was really store-bought because then too, you know, there were, we really, my mother, we really didn't have the money to do all that, but you know, we had the resources to piece things together and make it more beautiful than anything that we could ever find in a store. So when I came back home, my mother's house looked like a gallery, you know, because all the textiles were draped over the sofa and the chairs, and we had at least 3 quilts on the foot of everybody's bed because it was just that cold. You know, only one room was really, really warm, the front room or else the kitchen. Well, that's 2 rooms. But yeah, so when I went to school and I started studying the history of design, and there was no history of African American design, and I asked my instructor, what about, you know, because we were studying definitely Europe. We weren't even studying the history of design of Asia or India or Africa. And I asked my instructor, what about the African American aesthetic? He told me there was no such thing. I said, yes, there is, because I was raised in that aesthetic. So that's where I discovered the Schomburg Library. You know, I spent the majority of my schooling at the Schomburg Library because Pratt's Library did not have the resources I needed to really do my product designs. And I taught a lot of my teachers. I should have came out with
a PhD.
More, yes, because they learned from me because they didn't know anything about this. They, you know, because they were, you know, all they go by is what they see in the media. They don't know anything about the African American home life at all. Not African American. They don't know anything about what goes on in the home. We've created a culture, several levels of culture, because we do have the elite, and then we do have that funky aesthetic, and then there's different degrees of that. You know, as many people, there's like millions of degrees of Blackness, you know, and you really can't go wrong with whatever you do, especially if you do it with passion. So that's what my practice is about. And I wanted to just, fiber arts was the first thing. I first started working with wood. No, I first started working with stone, and that's when I was in Seattle. I was carving, doing sculpture with stone. But you know, in Seattle, I could go to a mountain and get my own stone, you know, like it was free. But when I came to New York and I found out I had to buy these marbles and alabaster, I changed my practice. I said, you mean I gotta buy this stuff? That's what I mean. We weren't poor, but we had resources. We were living off the land, you know. We were like very indigenous, you know. All the Black community over there is like that. And there's an extremely creative community behind that because we had to be resourceful among ourselves. And we used to pride ourselves on going to different people's houses and, you know, especially like when somebody would have, you know, go out fishing, and if you caught a stream of salmon or whatever was coming through, you know, and that's another thing. My artwork, the piece that's showing now is the cosmos. And my family are agricultural people because they came from farms in Oklahoma and Texas. So they maintained that whole farm culture with using the almanac for
Yes.
knowing when to plant things
Mm-hmm.
and when to harvest them, and even when to go fishing, because the almanac tells you when a specific school of fish are coming through, and that's when you go fishing. If you want to catch something, you got to pay attention to the almanac, what fish are coming through when. So we would have these amazing fish fries in Seattle, because like when the salmons, when the copperhead salmons would come through, kids wouldn't even go to school. Everybody would just drop everything, because they only going through like for about 3 or 4 days. It's not really long. So the
Wow.
restaurants shut down and everybody is out on boats, getting these copperhead salmons. And to have those salmons um, smoked outside,
Mm.
it's an experience. And you're with all your people. I mean, there was no night and day.
Right, right.
The day and night was not separated. But anyway, that's where my aesthetic comes from, because it's something that's very common to all African people, is living off the land and
And flourishing the
designing,
land.
yeah,
Yeah.
and creating a beautiful environment, a beautiful, harmonious, balanced, customized environment. But then, and that's a problem that I would see a lot of um, people of color, students of color, having problems when they're in design school or art school, because usually the instructor has this European background,
Mhm.
and they don't really study art or craft or design from an indigenous point of view. Like, if you had to live off the land, how would you evolve? You evolve from your craft first, and then you go
Mhm.
into design, and then after you get all your living comforts all together, then you get elite and go to fine art, but you don't, the Harlem Renaissance, I don't want to go into that, the Harlem
Listen,
Renaissance.
listen to me. We could stay here all night, because you know what happens, Zenobia? So many of our young artists leave Miami with from neighborhoods and aesthetics and a point of luxury, and go away, and none of that is validated. You're pushed off to the side. Your innate knowledge is just ignored, accidentally ignored. But when I look at your mandalas, because you're known for your mandalas, and I want you to talk just a little bit about your single line crocheting technique. Is there another image that we can show Petra, so that I can get Zanoba to walk through her work? This is you at your
This is kind of
workstation.
like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is at the Museum of Art and Design in New York City. I was an artist in residence there. And I would just I started crocheting these circles because I couldn't figure out what to do as far as an artist was concerned. So I couldn't just sit there and not do anything. So I just started crocheting circles. So I had crocheted a bunch of circles, a whole bunch of, a box of all these different sizes of circles, different, lines. And I wanted them to be very primal. I wanted to start my project from very primal shapes, and a circle. Almost everything in life starts from a circle,
Yeah.
humans, everything, plants, seeds, So I wanted to start as primal as I could, and I was going to evolve from that. So I applied for this artist in residency program at in Florida. Oh my God, what's the name of that
Uh,
place?
uh, uh,
Um, I can't.
oh,
It's
you're in past 50.
what?
What is it? It's up the road. I know
Atlantic Arts
exactly.
Center, Atlantic Center for the Arts.
Atlantic Center for the Arts. Yes.
Yes, and Nick Cave was one of the visiting artists there that was, supposed to be, they called it a master artist. So I said, I'm gonna take a workshop with him. This was before he really blew
But
up.
before he was a blockbuster.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yep.
anyway, I took a workshop with him. I hauled this big old box full of all these circles there,
Yeah.
and he showed me how to compose with them,
Oh, bless his heart.
and that was my kickoff to really, and like that's when I discovered like this is going to be the cosmos, you know,
Yes,
and everything
yes,
evolves from the
yes,
cosmos.
yes.
And so that's pretty much what these pieces are.
Bizarre. Yeah.
They're just constellations and cosmic
Tapestries.
compositions.
Yeah. So you know, we have this conversation in the art world about the Black aesthetic, and that's a whole. I probably will do another conversation on that alone. But it's a new name for an old form
Oh,
because
very old.
it's a fancy name for an old cultural work form. And do you agree?
Yeah, but I want to say this. I remember there was this conference on of Black designers,
Mhm.
and they had brought a lot of these Black designers from across the country together. And one designer actually asked the question, really, is there such thing as a Black aesthetic?
Oh no.
And then Greg Tate was there, you know, the writer. He said,
Yeah.
that's like asking, is there such thing as black hair? You know, like definitely there's a such thing as a Black aesthetic.
Yes.
There's a problem if you can't see it, because there's a psychological problem, because we've been traumatized so much and reprogrammed. We don't know up from down, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not a person that's really rejecting anything, but it's just that we've been like um, miseducated, and it's not a good experience. We have to go through therapy to even get back to our
To the aesthetic.
yeah, to our humanities, because we don't know what our humanities are, because
Well, we
we've
have
been
a lot
so
of examples. We have the Maasai. We have the cultures in Nigeria. We have
yeah,
the
but we're in
Bahamas
North
here
America.
with
We're in North
Junkanoo.
America. No,
You
we're in
know,
North America. No, we're in North America. That's
I
that's
know, I know, I
but
know.
the thing about it too that's really African Americans don't need to try to be like Africans, because
Yeah.
Africans do Africa better than us. And then
Well,
we have the African Americans that were both parents are born on the continent, but the
yeah.
children were born here. They're African Americans, but their parents didn't go through the slave trade. So that's another group of Africans with another group of aesthetics. If you even look at the children that are artists that come from parents that are from the continent of Africa, their art will be totally different from us. We have to acknowledge ourselves as African Americans coming, and we have to acknowledge that we don't have our last name. We don't have our language. We don't have any parts of our
But
culture. We can be inspired by Africa, but we can't really, we have to really pretty much invent ourselves in North America. That's what we need to do, because we have a whole different emotional makeup than folk. We were born in an industrialized country. We're like
there you
two or
go.
three generations here.
We're gonna
We
have
don't.
to bring you back. Listen, I am putting it on record that we have to bring you back. One, to do a workshop because we don't have enough time. I'm looking at this near funky crochet hat that is about to make me jump out of my chair. And you started a whole um, funk, a whole other
Yeah, it's a funk
art form.
aesthetic. It's a
That,
funk
that is a
aesthetic.
that is a funk aesthetic. Um, Petra, is there another image that I can show some of our public work, please? Or Herlinda? Um,
This is the Martin Luther King Library in Washington, D.C. It
Washington,
just,
D.C.
yeah, that just opened up this September, but we couldn't have the opening because of the pandemic.
Right.
But these are 26 gauge copper wire, crocheted copper wire that's
Wow.
I don't know if you can really see the work that well, but the ceiling has a digital print, and the blue part of the print is an abstraction of photographs of the March on Washington. You can't really see the people. If you were in there, you could probably make out a few people here and there, but
It
they're
is magnificent. It is
it's very
truly magnificent.
abstracted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more, and then I'm going to ask, because Evelyn was so excited to be on the same platform with you. And I'm not saying it is multi-generational, we're cross-generational. We have Marcia, we have Evelyn, and we have you. And I loved how the Link story, I know Connie is filled with pride that the Link story came through without prompting.
Oh
And
yeah.
because they're a service organization that does well all along. So that was amazing. Where is this, Zenobia? I know, but please tell us. The New York.
This is in New York City. This is at the Hudson Yards. It's a whole new community down on 34th and 11th Avenue in New York. It's a whole, they have their own zip code and everything. This is in the subway, the number 7 subway line. This is 2 of 3 mosaics, and this is the Cosmos.
This is the
These-
Cosmos that we saw
Mhm.
earlier. How long does it take you to do this? I'm
Well, this one took 5 years.
5 years. Young
Yes.
people, artists in the room, this doesn't just happen. This is a lifetime of creating. And listen, folks pay her to do this work. She's not doing it because she's trying to be healthy. This is work that she's commissioned to do. So
Yes.
there's the economic thread running through there. You can be viable and you can have a luxurious life doing this art form and artwork. Evelyn, is there a question that you want to ask Zenobia? Because we're running out of time and I don't want them to pull the plug um, on me. So please.
To ask Zenobia, just tell her again that how much I admire your work. So, but here with the mosaic, do you also do mosaic?
Oh no, that was
It's your-
commissioned. I commissioned Stephen oh god, I can't even think of his name. Stephen Mayoto. He's in New York City. But there's another a very interesting story about this mosaic artist that I was working with, and I would definitely have to tell that another time because it takes a few minutes. But it's he's from Italy, and in Italy they send those young people to study mosaics for free. And then this
Tell me
man,
about it.
that's how the government provides that. And this man does the majority of the mosaics in New York City, and he got his skills free, and he studied on. They have master programs because the government supports that. Our government, we need to have programs and master's programs, because there's no I mean, Canada, we in fact, whenever we do mosaics in the United States, we go to Canada to get the mosaic artists. If you know a mosaic artist in the United States, they either studied in Italy or in Canada. But we don't have any programs that develops craft skills or especially design, but what do you call trades and stuff. But and there's the aptitude is there, especially in our community.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
I'm talking over you because I know that my team is getting nervous as I look at the time, and I am going to commit that we're going to bring you back. We have to bring you back for a workshop. We're going to have to bring you back to talk to FAMA, because we have talent in Miami that is bountiless, I'm telling you. And one of the things that I want to, that I know you agree with me, Zenobia, because you and I have spoken about this, is how it is that we can cross-pollinate. You're a painter, you're a ceramicist, but that doesn't mean you can't pick up some fiber and do some work. I see people from all over on this call, artists. You don't have to be put in a box. Don't let anybody put you in a box. Have the economic, industrial mind working. Make sure that the work can be presented for sale. And we hope that our museums will validate this work, and our galleries will show this work. But we have to find a way so that this art that expresses this beauty can continue. I am absolutely thrilled, Zenobia, that you took the time. We had a lot of difficulty getting on, but I am so appreciative that you hung in there with me. Evelyn, you're right here under my arm, getting ready to show you work at the Moore Building, Moore 200. It's not called the Moore Building, it's the Moore 200 in the Miami Design District, opening February 5th to May 31st. And we will tell you more through social media. I am so thrilled. I am going to turn it over, I think now, to Petra to get some questions. Right, Petra? Or am I doing that?
Oh, as a matter of fact, the chat room has been so engaging, and the
Ah,
questions will be answered as we continue. This has been a great, great discussion, Rosie. Thank you so much. Ladies, Zenobia, Evelyn, you have been inspiring and wonderful with your creativity, your pieces. Certainly, this is what our program showcase. We really want through Art of Black to promote this really rich diversity around the arts here in our destination. We're excited to see the more building, Evelyn, your work that's coming. And I want to thank you again, all ladies, for participating this evening. You will receive a copy of the recording. We got that question a lot. Certainly, you'll receive a copy of the recording for this discussion as well. I want to remind you that we are still in Arts, Culture, and Heritage Month. We promote all the things of the art and the destination. So visit our website. We have some great offers as well. Miami is such a diverse, rich destination in the bedrock of art. So many of our museums, our galleries, our cultural spaces are having some great offers. Support our artists, like Rosie mentioned earlier, really, really on the track to greatness. Please support our artists and continue to support our artists. Zenobia, Evelyn, I can't thank you enough. Rosie, thank you. Thank you so much. But please don't go. We have a special treat to close us out. And again, I want to acknowledge the partnership with the Greater Miami Chapter Links Incorporated. Thank you so much for your partnership. Part of your mission is rooted in culture, rooted in volunteerism, and really rooted in community. Thank you for coming on board and being our partner. And to close us out this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I am Petra Brennan, your director of our tourism business enhancement, but please don't go. We will be hearing a final performance by Marcia Anderson, doing for us a minuet of Bach. Thank you so much and be well.